Guys, welcome to the tutorial. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to make a PNG character for Turning Online today. We're going to be doing a PNG character, so this is the tutorial for that. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and follow this guide here. It's going to be down in the description. It should be 4 easy steps and we'll have a character done. We're going to skip some of the optional stuff, but you're going to see how easy this flows. We're going to do a one character with one emote. So this should be pretty quick and easy. So we only need a couple things, your raw character sprites, an editing software, some patience, some time. We have a blank character template down here with some various tools in there that'll help you out. First step, you always want to make sure that you have your workstation clean, tidy, you have everything open that you need. Music is optional and highly encouraged because this is going to take you some time. So the first thing we got to do, step one, after we have all of our stuff set up, we want to convert all of our raw images into an AO format. You don't want to do this machine because if you try to do that, you're going to end up with a smashed character. It's going to look like somebody jumped on them. So what we want to have is a blank PNG with 256 by 192. So we're just going to come over here, ignore that. It's from a failed attempt. The recording software failed on me. We're going to go ahead, we're going to open up a blank image here. Blank PNG, nice and open. Not going to save that. Alright, we got a blank PNG here, nice and simple. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add a few things in here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add a second layer, and the reason why we want to do this is because we want a black layer, and optionally you'll do a white layer as well. The purpose for this is just so that you can see any dead pixels that there might be. Usually they tend to be white, occasionally they can be black pixels depending on where you get your character from. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to open another images layer. We are going to find the character image that we're looking for. So we are going to go find our raw character image. I'm just going to scroll through all my files here real quick. Don't look at any of my personal data, please. We are going to do Christine here. We're going to do her first costume. I have these all sorted out, so don't worry, I know what I'm doing. So this is the character sprite that we're going to work with here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to open that. Oh no, it's way too big for this image. Who would have guessed? So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to want to make sure that we edit or transform this back to the size that we want it to be, which is fitting into AO. So we are just going to shrink that. I'm holding shift to make sure that I do this correctly and I don't do it too crazy. Alright, she's still a little tall here. We want to make sure that she's looking nice. Alright, so we got something nice here. That's the size we're going to go with. Scroll her over a little bit. And you're probably wondering, how do I make sure that this thing is centered? We got another layer here. We're going to go back to our blank file. Hop over here to this. We got a stand here. Open that. We can see where the center is. We can move that layer around. The black layer in the background, we can obviously tell there's no dead pixels. Usually you want to make sure you zoom in, get it kind of pixelated and dirty looking. Look around. Nope, nothing. We don't see anything crazy, so we can get rid of that. We're looking here. Everything's looking good. We'll go ahead and zoom back out again. So everything's looking good. Nice center. We'll move us over a little bit to the left. I think that looks fine. We want to match it up with the center pillar here. That looks pretty centered to me. Scoot it over one more. Put it behind her. See what that looks like. Maybe a little more to the right. We'll do one more pixel over. Alright, perfectionist. Okay, go ahead, get rid of that. Boom. We have our character set up just like this. We're going to go ahead and save. You're going to save the name as the number 1, and I will show you why in a second here. So this opens back up. We got back in here. Optionally, you can open up this chat box as a layer so you can see what text will look like over your character. We're not going to do that because I want to keep this video pretty short. So we got it right here in this emotes folder is the folder you want to go into. We have the number 1. We are just going to overwrite that, replace that. Yep. Fine and dandy. Okay, let's go back over to, we don't need this anymore. Let's go back over to this blank folder, check out the emotes. Boom, we have that there. We're good. While we're here, we'll go ahead and get rid of all this other stuff we don't need. We don't need the blank anymore. We don't need the GIF any. We need the PNG any. We don't need this chat box anymore. We don't need the stand. All right, cool. Now we've sorted through all that. We don't need any of the other junk. So we are good. We can move on to the next step. So what's the next step after you convert your images into an AO format? Well, you want to make sure that you would line up any character poses that you have, really zoom in, make sure they're all lined up. Otherwise, you're going to end up with characters that switch back and forth and bobble around when you switch emotes. You don't want that. We did step 1.5. We checked for the white phantom pixels of doom. So the next thing we got to do is check out the ini. So the ini is pretty easy to do. This ini that we have in here, the character PNG ini file, is real simple to use. We're going to go ahead and first thing we want to do, make sure that that's just character. We're going to open this up, and here's what we're looking at. Alright, so what does any of this mean? Well, first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that his name is the same name as our character folder. We are just going to name this Chris for simplicity's sake. The show name we will leave as Chris, and we want to make sure that the number is accurate. 1. First mode, this is just telling us how many images are per page in the emote selection. We want to make sure we get rid of any excess or add more if we need more. For all of these, we want to make sure that the sound is all equal to 1 for both categories. So all sound is 1, and emotes we have 1, 1, 1. Since we're only doing a 1 emote character, nice and easy. Go ahead and save that. So that's saved. Next thing we want to do is we're going to work on the emotion. So let's check our handy guide here. We've done this. We've made sure that everything is even, is lined up. Scroll down here. Next thing we're doing, step 3, the emotes folder. This is going to be the one that takes the longest amount of time. I've added in a little picture here to help you see what you're supposed to be looking at. So let's go ahead and take a look at our blank file. Yep, that looks pretty spot on. These are looking pretty similar. Zoom files, we don't have any zoom files, so we're not going to worry about those. But yep, these are looking pretty spot on. So we're going to go ahead and continue down. We're going to make sure that we have everything good. Really take a moment, make sure, this is really important, make sure everything is named, numbered properly. When you start doing your buttons, you want to make sure you know exactly which emote your button is for. You don't want to be doing emotes and the buttons don't match. It'll be a nasty headache you'll have to deal with later, and especially since this step will take you a long time, since you have to save 2 files for every single emote. It's going to take you some time. So the time waster, step 3.5. 40 by 40 PNGs is what we are working with here. So we need to crop the image and make sure that we have a nice easy 40 by 40 PNG. So we're just going to go ahead, run in here, grab our crop tool. I'm going to select output size. We want this to be 40 pixels by 40 more pixels. Alright, so we got that. We're going to select her face here so that they know which emote we're selecting. We'll go ahead, just do this little black background. The background can be whatever you want, custom made if you want. Usually looks better if you do. We're just doing this for simplicity's sake. We're going to go ahead and save this. And we're going to go ahead and save the name under this under a different name. So we're going to go out of this emotes folder back into our blank folder. Here we go. This is what we're looking for, emotions. This is where all the buttons are. We are going to save this one as button 1 off. So we're going to go ahead, save that, replace it. So now button 1 off should be that image. Alright, that's looking good. Now what we want to do is change the saturation of this so that the buttons look different. Oh, we have the wrong layer selected. Make sure we have the right one there. Okay, so now this image is gray. They can tell that there is a difference there. We will save this as button 1 on. And you're going to need to do this for every single emote, making sure all the emotes match. Going back out to the image, cropping again. Usually helps if you do it as layers, because then you only need to really crop once, and you can cycle through them really quick. But of course, that depends on what your character's poses are. So there we go. We have this character's buttons done. We'll go back in here. Yep, that looks good. On, off. They can tell the difference between them, so when they have the character selected, they can tell the difference. Any is good. Go back here. Step 4 is the optional step to create a character select icon. That's pretty easy. It's basically the same step as step 3, only with a 60 by 60 instead of 40 by 40. So we're basically done with our character here. Now we need to go ahead and test it. Testing it is pretty easy. We're going to go ahead and open our test AO, find our base folder, find our characters folder. We want to make sure that we have our Chris folder dropped in here. So we're going to go back out to this blank folder, drag drop this. Of course, you want to change the name of this blank folder, so we'll do that real quick. We'll name this Chris, just so that you can see what it's supposed to be. Chris, done. Sure. Don't care. Skip. Sure. Who cares? None of this makes any sense. Skip all that. You just want this Chris folder that we have right here. Drag drop that in there, so that should be working just fine. We'll go ahead and test this out. I have dropped this. I've any swapped it onto a persona number 2. Scroll down here and just show you it. Real easy. Drag drop the any file in here, replace the character. Nice and simple. I know I'm rolling kind of fast, but I'm trying to keep the video pretty short, clear, sweet, to the point. So let's open up our AO. We're going to just go on to my server real quick. Alright, Persona 2. Go ahead and select that. Can't select that because somebody else is already on it. Okay, now we should be able to select it. We have our character here. We could select the emote. Since we only have one image, it's selected by default on the off position because we can't change it. But if you have more, it'll look different. Just kind of like the image here. The one that you have selected will change, obviously. You kind of know how that works. So now we'll go ahead and we'll just test this. Hey, look at that. Looks like it's working. Chris is now a character. We now have a one emote PNG character. Really, the only difficult parts about this is the amount of time it's going to take. And specific characters might be more difficult than others. Really, the only difficult parts, step 1, changing all the raw images into AO format, and step 3, where you are taking the buttons and making them the correct size and cropping them out. Those are the only 2 steps that are going to take you any time. But that should be it for today. Thank you. Remember, like, comment, rate, subscribe. Check out some of my other tutorials. I'll have a link to them in the description. I'll also have a link to my Discord server and my AO server, as well as the Attorney Online official server. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.